all of that brings us to Thursday Night Football. Both teams were in action on Thursday last week on Thanksgiving. They're rolling it back over into primetime. Huge game for both teams. Tanner, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, the craziest thing to me to start it off is if you said at the beginning of the season that the Dallas Cowboys, after the Cowboys were sliding a little bit, were going to go to Detroit and be the public pick. That's what would surprise me. I'm kind of shocked by that still. I think the Lions are really susceptible to good teams rushing the passer, and the Cowboys can get pressure right now. Defensively, they have tightened up a little bit. They're still going to give up yards throughout the air. They're still going to give up points, but I don't necessarily trust the Lions offense to go shot for shot with anybody, because we've seen it time and time again. They do stupid things. They don't take points. They don't convert when they need to. And as great as they are, as explosive as they are with Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he does ultimately play in this game with his ankle injury from Thanksgiving, and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jared Goff, like if you don't protect Jared Goff, you can't score. And then to top it off, when you do get something going, you get stopped on fourth down, you're going to lose football games, because that's what they do. They never take points. So it's a spot where I still can't wrap my head around the Cowboys being this good of a football team. But the Cowboys present a lot of challenges to Detroit because they need to score. The Detroit needs to score with Dallas. I don't think they can do that at this point.
Yeah, the Detroit offense is starting to take a step back, and if Amon-Ra doesn't play, obviously that's going to hurt them. We've talked about it on the show, but there isn't much of a split back committee anymore. It really is just kind of the Jahmyr Gibbs show, and then David Montgomery gets his carries where he gets them. We know Laporta is out, and now Brock Wright is out. They're having problems at center. Glasnow's out. They bring, Frank Ragnow back out of retirement. He's not available for them. So this offense is it's getting beat up. It's also not been as effective. Dan Campbell seemed like a great play caller against the Commanders, but we kind of quickly found out it's just the Commanders in the game since then. Play calling hasn't been great. It's not been cohesive. And then this defense, they have solid metrics, but it seems like when they face these really good teams, they need to get the stops. They are not doing that. So I'm with you that it seems wild to imagine this line being this close. But at the same time, if you've been watching the Cowboys recently, they've been getting better and better. And the additions of Quinn Williams and Logan Wilson legitimately look like their defense could be average or even maybe a little bit below average. But when you've got one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL, you're able to overcome that.
Yeah. And the thing that has been the biggest noticeable effect for me is like Dan Campbell calling the plays. Like, I think people are happy about that. But since he's called the plays, the offense does not look good at all. And they were looking better early in the season when he wasn't calling the plays. So I know they made the transition. I don't necessarily understand why, because I don't think he's done a great job calling the offense. And he's done a terrible job managing games. And that's one thing the Cowboys, like, you haven't found, or you're not going to find a more connected football team right now than the Dallas Cowboys. They're all getting along. George Pickens is getting fed. CeeDee Lamb's getting fed. There's no drama on the offense. I mean, they're going to Vegas to gamble the night before a game, and they're coming out and they're just dominating. This is vintage Cowboys football here. And I think Schottenheimer's just letting them play, and they're all getting along. And I think it's a good mix right now.
Yeah. So looking at the last month of football, which is when Dan Campbell started calling plays, getting into my nerdy advanced numbers here, the Cowboys lead the NFL in EPA per play. The Lions are at 7th. The Cowboys are 2nd in success rate. The Lions are 8th. If we take the last 3 weeks, because I'm sure the Lions numbers are greatly inflated by what they did against the Commanders in that game. If we take the last 3 weeks, the Cowboys are 2nd in EPA per play. The Lions are 18th. If we look at success rate, the Cowboys are 3rd. The Lions are 18th once again.
Like, Dan Campbell has become even worse at managing games since calling plays. And I don't blame him, because you need to think of a next play, and you also need to think of the decision, where it's like, you got your offensive coordinator. Hey, you got 2 plays to get this. We're going for it 100% of the time. But for him, it's like, that the processing speed's got to be a little lower. So I'm not a fan of head coaches calling plays unless they're like offensive gurus and they've done it their whole life. I'm not saying Dan Campbell's not that, but he hasn't called plays in so long, and now you're coming in to call plays, and it's a really hard transition to make.
Yeah, especially mid-season. If he decided on this in the offseason, it might be able to work better. And to your point, Sean McVay does it, Kyle Shanahan does it, Andy Reid does it, but they've been doing it for so long. There was never a break. Dan Campbell hasn't done this, and to just kind of make this change on the fly while now battling injuries, and considering his weakness was in-game management, yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson was doing everything for him. I imagine. Like I can't picture he had that big of a hand in the offense, right? Like he had a hand in the offense. He knew what the scheme was, but like he was full game management and leadership, and obviously making sure everything's running smooth amongst every single position. But right now, when he's got too big of a hand in the offense, he can't. Whatever the new offensive coordinator couldn't get it done, so that'd go. He's got to manage the offense. You got to manage the game. You got to worry about what's going on with special teams and defense and all that. Like it's just too much. And this is going to be their ultimate demise. And the Lions, if they lose this game, severe risk of not making the playoffs.
Now, on the flip side, I want us to be very cautious here because the Cowboys do look better, but we have a tendency to do this in sports. The Cowboys won 3 straight games. They beat the Eagles, they beat the Chiefs. They're going to beat the Lions, or they're going to cover the spread. It doesn't always work like that. Teams slip up. Good teams lose to teams they shouldn't. And we don't even know if the Cowboys are a good team. It's been 3 weeks and they've looked pretty solid, but they were down 21-0 to the Eagles. They did allow Mahomes to go for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. So are they actually a good team, or have they just been finding ways to win exciting games?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys come out and get smacked, because that's how the NFL works. Like teams get humbled after a few wins and they fall off the cliff and they're riding high off just what they've done in the past month. But it's a spot where I'm not really comfortable with either team. I think if I had to make a bet, I am going to lay the points with the Detroit Lions in this game. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys just blow them off the field. It also wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys get blown off the field.
Yeah, so 3-point spread here. Fanatics has it at 3.5. I was looking around to see if anybody had it at 2.5 because I thought that could be the play for the Lions. Not seeing it there, so maybe wait throughout the week or check for live betting. I'm with you. If I had to take a side, and I probably personally will not do that because I think it is a very close game and I think there's merit to both sides, I would prefer taking the Lions just because while I've liked more what I've seen from the Cowboys in the last 3 weeks, I know what I've seen from the Lions for the last 3 years. For the Lions, I'm still trying to learn what they are. I'm in the process of it, but I don't know it yet. So I would be more comfortable with the Lions, even though it's risky. The Cowboys look good right now.
Detroit to make the playoffs, plus 130 right now.
Really?
I think that's a better bet than the Chiefs to make it at plus 106.
Well, right now the Lions are 8th. They will not. The 49ers are 7th at 9-4, which is a game and a half ahead of the Lions. The problem is the Lions at 7-5. They got the Packers, who are 8-3-1 above them, and they got the Bears at 9-3 above them.
So they really, 7-5, that's crazy. So you got 12, so you got 5 games left. I mean, if you go 12-5 and you don't get in, that's just crazy to think.
12-5 would get in. There's a chance 11-6 they're not in.
Would 12-5 get you in though, with just who you have ahead? Like the Seahawks, Packers, and Niners are 2 games up, so they kind of control their own destiny there.
Well, who do the Lions? So the Lions down the stretch, they have they've got Cowboys, Rams, Steelers, Vikings, and Bears. So they're not going 5-0. I just don't see that happening.
No, so they're probably out. It's crazy.
They're 11 and we're looking at 11-6 best case.
It's a good thing I cashed out my Lions Super Bowl bet. That was a smart move by me. You don't even realize it. Like the Chiefs could miss, the Lions could miss. It's the Bills are probably going to get in, but the Colts now, like they're kind of falling off. Chargers are falling off a little bit. Like, it's crazy to think where we're at in the season at this point. No Mahomes, Lamar sucks. Josh Allen can't get it done right now. It's just a weird spot.
That's what I said about the Big Four. If someone told you there was a Big Four and this was your first year watching football, you would think the Big Four was Stafford, May, Love, and Dak. That something like maybe
not Love. Love's looked pretty bad at times too.
Yeah, he has. I don't know.
There's not a Big Four.
Darnold for the first 10 weeks.
Oh my God, he's terrible. He is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. He is so bad at football. So bad.
Let me give you some player props here because we talked about it. It's tough picking a major. I'll take Dak for the most passing yards in this game, and I think this applies whether it is a Lions win or a Cowboys win. You just lean into your strengths, and right now there are very, very, very few teams in the NFL that are equipped to handle Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb. You see that week in and week out. And the Lions defense, yeah, it's better than average, but they can be got. And you've seen that recently, specifically against the good teams. And then I'll take a George Pickens anytime touchdown score. CeeDee Lamb, still a better player than George Pickens, sure, but Pickens looks better than he does right now. And Pickens just seems to be more physical in the red zone. They like targeting him on those slants. So I'll take him to score.
All right, so my two props in this game, I'm going to take Jared Goff for an interception. You're getting that plus 130 right now. I think the Cowboys are going to heat him up, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they're going to be able to score and force Jared Goff to have to throw the ball down the field a little bit. And the bottom line, if you get pressure on Jared Goff, you give yourself a chance to get an interception because he literally cannot. He's the one, and no quarterback can do well with pressure. Jared Goff is probably one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure I think I've seen in the NFL. My time watching the NFL.
He can't move.
He can't move. He's very stiff in the pocket. If you give him time, he can pick you apart, but that doesn't happen, especially with bad play calling from Dan Campbell. Second prop that we're going to go with, the usual one here. They do not have the combined number, so I will just go with the regular number here. Jahmyr Gibbs over 74.5 rushing yards. I do like his combined number when that does come out. We don't exactly know, but Jahmyr Gibbs has been the workhorse for them. If you have any chance of making the playoffs, you need to feed him. And right now, the playoffs don't look very good. He had 20 carries for 68 yards against the Packers. David Montgomery, I believe, still got a good chunk of carries against Green Bay. If you want to see Grant looking that up there, but 68 yards against the Packers, 20 carries. They're going to keep feeding him because it wasn't even working against the Packers, and they still continue to give him the football here. I think they have a much better chance of running the ball on the Dallas Cowboys in this spot, especially if he can break through a little bit. I mean, the Packers have shut down Jahmyr Gibbs his entire career, so that was no surprise to see that. This is a spot where I think you can get back and get him some bursts and get to this number pretty quickly.
8 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown last week. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say his line was 32.5. So
yeah, he still went under. Yeah. I love the over on that, and he went under. It was a rough weekend of betting for sure.
It's funny because we're talking about, we both like the Lions, but then you take Goff interception, I take Dak passing yards, George Pickens touchdown. And it makes sense. There's going to be points. The over-under is 54.5, which I have to assume is the highest of the week, but still.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys right now, it's just a team that we don't exactly know what they are. Schottenheimer, like everyone seems to like each other. Pickens is happy. They're all getting along. Dak's getting him the football. They're scoring. They're winning a few games, but they're still average. Like in the end of the day, this is still a mid-football team. I don't want to. Let's not think that signing Quinnen Williams made this team a great football team by any means. They're playing well.
They're exciting. Doesn't mean they're good.
They're exciting. They're very exciting. Yeah, and you know what? Like, they're also playing with nothing to lose right now in a way. So as they keep winning, the stakes get higher and higher. You got to keep it going. Like last week, Patrick Mahomes coming to town. That's their Super Bowl. The Chiefs are just trying to stay alive. They're trying to keep their head above water, where the Chiefs, they're the Cowboys, Thanksgiving Day game against Patrick Mahomes, Post Malone halftime show. This is the Super Bowl. This is as big as it's going to get for them. So of course they're going to come out and play on fire.
But I also do want to give them credit because that's the type of game the Cowboys have lost for like the last decade. They always lose the big game.
Yes, but like, is it even a big game? Is it even a big game? Like, if you lose it, like you're expected to lose, you're not going to the playoffs anyways. Like that's kind of where this isn't like the Tony Romo days where you're competing for a playoff spot or you're in the playoffs, whatever. He fumbles the snap. Like it just feels different. Like they're playing for nothing. It was just like a one-off game.